Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, your alarm going off, and before you even sit up in bed, your hand automatically reaches for your phone. Notifications light up the screen. You scroll through social media, you check emails, you watch a few quick videos, and before you know it, 30 minutes are gone. Your brain feels foggy, but also restless. You get up, make some coffee, and tell yourself you'll get back on track. This is where most of us live, not in the real economy, but in the dopamine economy, a constant battle for your brain's reward system. The truth is that your brain is not built for the 21st century. It evolved for survival on the savannah, where dopamine was a guide, not a drug. Dopamine was there to tell you, this thing you just did, do more of that. Find berries? Dopamine. Spot a good water source? Dopamine. Hunt successfully? Big dopamine hit. But today, the world is different. Instead of berries and fresh water, you have endless notifications, ads, reels, games, fast food, dating apps, and 1,000 other instant rewards, all competing for your brain's attention. And every one of them is pulling you away from the focus and discipline that wealth creation requires. Most people think dopamine is about pleasure. It's not. Dopamine is about pursuit. It's about wanting, not having. When you eat chocolate cake, the dopamine spike actually comes when you anticipate eating the cake, not when it's in your mouth. This is why scrolling social media is so addictive. It gives you a constant drip of anticipation. Every swipe could bring a new funny video, a shocking headline, a message from someone you like. Your brain loves this uncertainty because each potential reward delivers a fresh hit of dopamine. But here's the problem. Every hit of dopamine you get from low-value, cheap sources trains your brain to crave more cheap sources. You get stuck in a loop of easy rewards and your tolerance goes up over time. This is why what used to satisfy you, a single YouTube video, one episode of a show, now turns into a binge session that leaves you feeling empty. When you live this way, you are renting your dopamine system to other people's business models. Social media platforms, food companies, streaming services, they are all part of the dopamine economy. Their profit comes from hijacking your brain's natural reward circuitry and keeping you hooked. And when you let them win, you lose your most valuable resource, your attention. Why attention is the new currency? Wealth creation is a game of leverage, and your attention is the first point of leverage you must control. If your focus is fractured, your financial life will be too. Consider two people. Person A spends their mornings in a fog, their brain buzzing from notifications, caffeine, and distraction. They jump from task to task, never fully present, always checking their phone, never really finishing anything. Person B guards their morning like treasure. They wake up, avoid their phone, move their body, breathe deeply, set clear goals for the day. They get 2 hours of deep work done before most people even start. Over weeks, the difference is small. Over months, it grows. Over years, the gap becomes massive. Person B compounds their focus into skills, money, opportunities, relationships, while person A is still chasing cheap dopamine. This is why mastering dopamine is the first step to mastering wealth creation. You can't get into flow, you can't build discipline, and you can't create anything meaningful if your brain is constantly starved for the next little hit. The first step is awareness. You can't fix what you don't measure. Start by noticing where your dopamine goes during the day. When do you feel the strongest urges? What triggers you to grab your phone, to snack, to procrastinate? Most people are shocked when they actually track this for a full day. They realize they are living in a constant state of dopamine drip, jumping from one micro reward to the next. Here's a simple exercise you can try today. 1. Pick one day this week to track your dopamine hits. 2. Every time you feel an urge to check your phone, grab a snack, open a new tab, write it down. 3. Rate it on a scale from 1 to 10 for how strong the urge was. By the end of the day, you'll have a map of where your dopamine is leaking. This is powerful because once you see the leaks, you can patch them. One of the fastest ways to regain control of your brain is through a dopamine detox. The name sounds extreme, but it's really just a period of intentional boredom where you stop giving your brain cheap rewards and allow your dopamine system to reset. Here's how a basic 24-hour detox works. No social media, no streaming, no junk food, no unnecessary phone use, no gaming or mindless internet browsing. Instead, you fill the day with low stimulation activities, reading, journaling, walking, stretching, deep thinking. At first, it feels unbearable. Your brain will scream for stimulation. But after a few hours, something magical happens. Your baseline dopamine level rises. The world becomes more interesting again. Even simple tasks start to feel rewarding. This reset makes it easier to focus and work on meaningful things, the things that actually move you closer to wealth. Once you've reset your system, the next step is to direct dopamine toward what you want to achieve. This is where most productivity systems fail. They tell you to just do the work or build discipline, but they ignore the biology. You need to make the process of wealth creation feel good, not just be good for you. Here's how. Create micro wins. Break big goals into tiny steps. Each small step gives your brain a reward hit, keeping you motivated. Use anticipation. Make your work something to look forward to. Set up your environment so it feels special: music, lighting, a clear desk. Celebrate progress. After a focused work session, give yourself a healthy reward: a short walk, a favorite tea, a quick journal entry to mark progress. When you link dopamine to productive habits, you create a positive feedback loop. Work leads to reward, which makes you want to work more. This is the secret to effortless discipline. At this point, you might be asking, what does any of this have to do with money? Everything. Money is just the external measurement of value created. To create value in the world through a business, a career, an investment strategy, you need focus, consistency, and the ability to do hard things over time. When you master your dopamine, you master your ability to focus on high-value tasks. Instead of wasting your best brain power on distractions, you channel it into building skills, spotting opportunities, and taking action. Think of it like this. Every moment of deep focus is a deposit into your wealth account. Every moment of distraction is a withdrawal. Most people are bankrupt, not financially, but in attention. You are going to be different. The next chapters will take you deeper into how to enter flow states on demand, how to use discipline as a tool, not a punishment, and how to translate all this mental power into real, tangible wealth. But it starts here with dopamine. Because once you control what you crave, you control what you create. You've probably experienced it before, even if you didn't have a name for it. That magical state where time disappears, distractions fade, and you are so absorbed in what you're doing that you forget to eat, drink, or even check your phone. You finish the session and look up 2 hours have passed, but it felt like 20 minutes. That is flow. Psychologists call it the optimal state of consciousness. Athletes call it the zone. Artists call it being in the pocket. Whatever you call it, this state is the holy grail of peak performance, and it is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools you have. Flow isn't just about being productive. It's about being immersed. When you're in flow, your brain enters a unique neurological cocktail. Dopamine and norepinephrine surge, increasing focus and motivation. Anandamide and serotonin rise, boosting creativity and reducing fear. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that worries, self-monitors, and second-guesses, temporarily quiets down. This combination is why flow feels so good. You become fully present, your skills rise to match the challenge, and work stops feeling like work. But here's the kicker. Flow isn't just a feel-good state. It's a performance multiplier. But studies show that in flow, people can be up to 500% more productive. Imagine getting a full day's worth of meaningful work done in just a few hours and actually enjoying it. That's the power we're after. Flow is not random. It has triggers, conditions that make it more likely to occur. The better you understand these triggers, the more often you can enter flow on demand. There are many, but let's start with the big three. Clear goals. Your brain needs to know exactly what success looks like in this moment. Work on my business is too vague. Write 500 words for my new sales page is perfect. 2. Immediate feedback. You need to see how you're doing as you go. This is why games are so addictive. They constantly tell you if you're winning or losing. You can build feedback into your work by tracking your output in real time, checking off micro tasks, or timing your sessions. 3. Challenge. Skill balance. This is the sweet spot. If a task is too easy, you get bored. Too hard, you get anxious. Flow happens when the challenge just slightly exceeds your current skill level, enough to stretch you, but not enough to overwhelm you. If you get these 3 right, you dramatically increase your chances of hitting flow. Before you try to summon flow, you need to eliminate what kills it. Multitasking. Flow hates switching. If you check your phone every 10 minutes, you will never enter flow. Open loops. If your brain is thinking about unpaid bills, unwashed dishes, or an unanswered email, you won't relax enough to immerse yourself. Noise and interruptions. You cannot go deep when the environment keeps pulling you shallow. Take a few minutes before your flow session to close these loops. Write down distractions so your brain knows they're captured. Put your phone in another room or turn on airplane mode. Clear your desk or workspace of unnecessary clutter. You are telling your brain this is sacred time. Flow doesn't usually hit in the first 30 seconds. It takes time to transition. You can speed this up with a ritual that primes your brain for deep work. Here's a sample. 1. Environment cue. Sit in the same spot every time you want to do deep work. Over time, your brain associates this place with focus. 2. Breathing reset. Take 10 slow breaths to calm your nervous system. 3. Set a clear goal. Write down the single most important task for this session. 4. Start small. Commit to just 5 minutes. This lowers resistance. Most of the time, once you start, you'll keep going. Think of it like warming up before a workout. You are preparing your brain and body to enter the flow state more easily. Here's where we connect Chapter 1 to what you're learning now. Remember, dopamine is the brain's go, get it signal. You can use this to make flow sessions magnetic. Pre-commitment reward. Before you start, decide how you will reward yourself after completing the session. Good coffee, a short walk, a favorite playlist. Mini wins. Break the task into small steps and celebrate micro progress, even just checking a box. Gamify it. Track your flow sessions like a game. Give yourself points for every uninterrupted session. Aim to beat your score from last week. This creates a cycle where your brain associates deep focus with pleasure, making it easier to return tomorrow. At this point, you may be thinking, okay, I get how flow makes me more productive, but how does it create wealth? Here's the secret. Wealth creation is a game of compounding deep work. Writing that book or course that earns royalties. Building that business system that generates passive income. Learning the investing strategy that multiplies your money over time. These things don't happen in shallow work mode. They require hours of concentrated effort, sometimes over months or years. Flow is what makes this sustainable. Think about this. If you enter flow just 3 times a week for 90 minutes each, that's over 200 hours of ultra-productive, high-quality work per year. If each of those hours is 4 or 5x more productive than normal, you are effectively working 800 to 1,000 hours of top-level output without burning out. This is how creators, entrepreneurs, and investors leap ahead while everyone else is stuck reacting to notifications. Flow doesn't just have to happen at work. You can design your entire lifestyle to maximize flow moments. Morning flow. Use your highest energy hours for your most creative or strategic work. Evening flow. After work, you can enter flow with hobbies, reading, or problem solving rather than passive entertainment. Weekend flow. Use long stretches of time to go deep into a personal project or skill development. The more you live in flow, the more fulfilled and less stressed you feel. This isn't just about money, it's about building a life where you actually enjoy the process. Here's your challenge for today. 1. Pick one important task you've been putting off. 2. Schedule a 90-minute window where you can be completely undisturbed. 3. Prepare your environment. Clean space, no phone. Clear goal. 4. Start your warm-up ritual and commit to just 5 minutes. 5. Notice when the sense of time starts to fade and you get absorbed. That's flow kicking in. Afterward, reflect. How did it feel? How much did you get done compared to a normal session? This awareness is key to reinforcing the habit. The first time you experience deliberate flow, you'll be hooked, but the real power comes when you make it repeatable. Flow is a skill. The more you practice it, the faster you can enter it, the longer you can stay in it, and the more you can leverage it for wealth creation. In the next chapter, we'll connect the dots even further. We'll explore how discipline is really dopamine management and how you can build a system that makes these flow sessions inevitable, not just occasional. People love to glorify discipline. They talk about grinding and pushing through, as if success is simply a matter of punishing yourself until you get results. But here's the truth. Discipline is not about brute force. It's about smart engineering. If you rely only on willpower, you will fail. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. It burns out. And when it does, you'll find yourself back on the couch, scrolling your phone, wondering why you can't stay consistent. Real discipline, the kind that creates wealth and builds lasting habits, comes from understanding how your brain works and aligning your environment with your goals. At its core, discipline is dopamine management. Let's talk about decision fatigue. Every day you wake up with a finite amount of mental energy. Every decision you make, what to wear, what to eat, which task to start, drains that energy. By the end of the day, you've made hundreds of tiny decisions. Your willpower tank is empty. This is why people can stick to a diet all day, but break down at 9 p.m. and raid the fridge. This is not a character flaw, it's biology. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles self-control, gets depleted. If you want to stay disciplined, you have to stop depending on willpower and start depending on systems. Systems are pre-made decisions. They remove the need to constantly choose and rely on motivation. Environment design. If junk food is not in the house, you don't have to resist it. Scheduled work blocks. If you know that 8 to 10 a.m. is your deep work window, you don't have to negotiate with yourself every morning. Automated finances. If you set up automatic transfers into your savings or investment accounts, you don't need to remember to save. Systems work because they align your dopamine environment. They make the right choice, the easiest choice. Let's break this down into a simple formula. Discipline equals lowering the friction for good habits plus raising the friction for bad habits. Friction is the hidden force that shapes your behavior. If a habit is easy to start, you'll do it more. If it's hard, you'll do it less. For example, if your phone is next to your bed, you'll check it first thing. If your phone is in another room, you might go straight into your morning routine. This is dopamine management in action. You are guiding where your brain seeks its next reward. Let's get specific. Here are tools you can start using today. 1. Temptation bundling. Pair a productive habit with a small reward. Example, only listen to your favorite podcast while you're at the gym or only drink your favorite coffee after finishing your first deep work block. This links dopamine to the good habit. 2. Environment design. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow so it's the last thing you see before bed. Want to stop snacking? Don't buy snacks or make them hard to reach top shelf behind something. 3. Commitment devices. Make bad habits painful or inconvenient. Block distracting sites during work hours. Put your phone charger across the room so you can't scroll in bed. 4. Pre-commitment. Decide in advance what you'll do and when. I'll work out tomorrow is weak. I'll work out tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. right after breakfast is strong. 5. Track your streaks. Your brain loves visible progress. Mark every day you keep a habit. Soon, you'll crave keeping the streak alive. This is dopamine working for you, not against you. Why does this matter for wealth? Because wealth is a long game. Investing, you need discipline to keep contributing even when the market dips. Business, you need discipline to show up every day, even when results aren't immediate. Skill building, you need discipline to practice, learn, and improve when it would be easier to binge watch TV. Dopamine-driven discipline keeps you moving forward when other people quit, and when you stay in the game longer, you benefit from compounding. Remember, compounding doesn't just apply to money, it applies to habits, skills, and focus. Every day you stick to your system, you get slightly better. And over months and years, that difference becomes massive. Here's a crucial shift. Stop thinking of discipline as something you do and start thinking of it as something you are. If you say, I'm trying to get rich, you'll treat wealth creation as an effort. If you say, I'm the kind of person who builds wealth, you start to behave differently automatically. Your brain loves consistency between your identity and your actions. When you call yourself an investor, you act like an investor. When you call yourself a disciplined person, you naturally make disciplined choices. This is the ultimate dopamine hack because you're no longer fighting yourself. You're simply acting in alignment with who you believe you are. Today, pick one area where you need more discipline. Fitness, money, learning, focus, and do the following. 1. Identify the habit. What specific action will get you closer to your goal? Write for 30 minutes every morning. 2. Reduce friction. How can you make it easier? Lay out your notebook or open your writing app before bed. 3. Raise friction for the opposite habit. How can you make distractions harder? Turn off Wi-Fi until you're done. 4. Attach a dopamine reward. What small reward can you give yourself after completing it? 5. Track it. Use a calendar, habit tracker, or notebook to mark every day you do it. Within weeks, you'll notice something powerful. You won't need as much motivation to get started. Your brain will begin craving the act itself because it's wired reward to follow action. Some people fear discipline will make them rigid, that life will become joyless. But true discipline is freeing. When your finances are automated, you don't stress about bills. When your work sessions are scheduled, you don't waste energy deciding when to start. When your habits are aligned with your identity, you stop battling yourself. This kind of discipline creates more space for joy because it removes chaos. You have more time, more energy, and more mental clarity to focus on what really matters, including enjoying the wealth you're building. This is where it all comes together. Discipline creates the conditions for flow. When you have a system, when you know when and where you'll work, when distractions are removed, when rewards are preset, flow becomes almost inevitable. You no longer wait for inspiration. You just show up and the state follows. This is the secret behind elite performers. They don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems that trigger flow again and again. And once you can do that, wealth creation becomes a byproduct of who you are. In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly how to take these flow sessions and disciplined habits and turn them into actual financial results. We'll connect skill building, deep work, and value creation to income streams that compound over time. This is where we start turning mental mastery into money mastery. By now, you understand two crucial truths. 1. Flow is where your brain performs at its best, focused, creative, and fully engaged. 2. Discipline is not about punishing yourself, but designing an environment that channels dopamine toward meaningful goals. But here's the question that matters most. How do we turn these mental superpowers into actual money? Because let's be honest, focus and discipline feel good, but they become life-changing when they translate into financial freedom, more options, and a future you can design on your own terms. This chapter is about taking what you've learned and turning it into something tangible: assets, income streams, wealth that compounds over time. At its core, wealth creation follows a simple formula. Wealth equals value created times leverage times time. Let's break that down. Value created. What problem are you solving? What skill are you offering? What product or service are you building that helps someone else? Leverage. How many people benefit from that value? Are you doing one-on-one work, or are you building something that can scale, like content, code, investments, or systems? How long are you willing to keep playing the game? Wealth creation isn't a one-month project, it's a compounding process. Your flow sessions are the engine that powers this formula. Each focused block of time becomes a deposit into the value you are creating. Let's compare two people building a business. Person A works distracted, checks email every 10 minutes, and never fully commits. They spend 40 hours a week working, but only get maybe 10 hours of true creative output. Person B works in flow 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's 7.5 hours of deep, uninterrupted creation, which is easily equal to 30 to 35 hours of distracted work. Over a year, Person B produces 3 to 4 times more meaningful output with far less burnout. They can ship products faster, refine their offers, and attract more opportunities. Flow doesn't just make you productive, it compresses time. And when you compress time, you compound faster. Not all work is equal. Some tasks will make you 10x more money than others. This is where many people get stuck. They stay busy, but not profitable. Ask yourself, what tasks create the most value? E.g., writing proposals, coding a new feature, creating content, researching investments. What tasks can be delegated, automated, or eliminated? E.g., busy work, repetitive admin, unnecessary calls. Your flow sessions should be reserved for high-leverage, wealth-building activities. Here's a quick filter. If it builds an asset, book, product, system, content, skill, high leverage. If it just checks a box, answering low-priority emails, low leverage. Flow is too valuable to waste on shallow tasks. Save it for the work that compounds. Wealth is built by creating things that keep paying you after you stop working. Here are some examples of assets you can build during flow sessions. Digital assets: books, courses, YouTube channels, podcast software, templates. Business assets: sales funnels, automated marketing systems, intellectual property, client pipelines. Investment assets: research and analysis that lead to strong investment decisions, stocks, real estate, private deals. Personal assets: high-income skills like copywriting, coding, design, public speaking, leadership. When you work in flow, you produce higher quality assets faster, and those assets generate wealth long after the session ends. Wealth loves compounding, but compounding doesn't just apply to money. It applies to skills, habits, and audience building too. Each flow session compounds your skill level. You get sharper, faster, more creative. Each project compounds your reputation. More people trust you, recommend you, buy from you? Each win compounds your confidence. You take bigger swings, attract bigger opportunities. This is why consistency beats intensity. You don't need 12-hour grind days. You need a few focused hours consistently, week after week, month after month. Here's a practical roadmap for turning flow sessions into cash flow. 1. Pick a wealth path. Choose a primary focus: business, investing, career growth, or skill building. 2. Define a clear goal. E.g., build a $10,000 per month online business, become a top 1% freelancer, acquire 3 rental properties in 5 years. 3. Break it down. List the key actions that move you toward that goal. 4. Schedule flow sessions. Dedicate 90-minute deep work blocks to those actions, at least 3 to 4 times per week. 5. Track progress. Measure what matters: revenue, savings, portfolio growth, skill milestones. This is not sexy, but it is powerful. Over time, you will literally see wealth grow out of your calendar. Imagine Sarah, a graphic designer. For years, she worked in short, distracted bursts, barely making enough to pay her bills. Then she redesigned her routine. Every morning, 8 to 9:30 a.m., she entered a phone-free flow session. She used that time to improve her portfolio, write case studies, and reach out to dream clients. She also spent 1 weekly flow block creating a digital template pack she could sell online. Within a year, Sarah had tripled her income, not by working more hours, but by using her best hours to create leverage. Her portfolio attracted bigger clients. Her digital products sold on autopilot. And because she worked in flow, she didn't burn out. Flow and discipline make wealth creation more enjoyable, but you still have to deal with fear, doubt, and impatience. Fear. Flow helps here because it quiets the part of your brain that overthinks. The more you enter flow, the more fearless you become about taking action. Doubt. Track your wins. Celebrate micro progress. Each flow session completed is evidence you are becoming the person who achieves your goals. Impatience. Focus on inputs, not just outcomes. You can't control the exact timing of success, but you can control how many high-quality flow sessions you complete. When you stop obsessing over results and focus on process, wealth becomes inevitable. Today, create your personal wealth flow map. 1. Choose your wealth engine: business, investments, career, content creation. List 3 high-leverage actions, e.g., record 1 podcast per week, analyze 5 companies per month, write 2 proposals per week. 3. Block time. Put 3 to 4 flow sessions per week on your calendar for these actions. 4. Track output. At the end of each week, record what you produced. Over time, watch how it compounds. This turns flow from an abstract concept into a practical wealth generation system. Ultimately, this chapter is about becoming the kind of person who naturally creates wealth. When you regularly enter flow, manage dopamine, and stay disciplined, you stop seeing wealth creation as something out there you have to chase. You realize you are the engine. You are the source of value. Money becomes a byproduct of who you are and how you think. That's the true power of this work. It doesn't just make you rich, it makes you unshakable. In the final chapter, we will explore how to make this your default state, how to integrate flow, dopamine, and discipline into your identity so that wealth creation becomes effortless, automatic, and sustainable for the rest of your life. You've made it this far, which means you've already started rewiring your brain. You understand dopamine. You've experienced flow. Discipline is a system, not a punishment. And you've seen how to turn deep work into wealth. But there's one last piece, perhaps the most important of all. How do you make this your default state, not just a short-term experiment, but a permanent way of living? Because here's the truth. Most people start strong, then slide back. They do a dopamine detox, hit flow a few times, maybe even make more money for a while. Then life happens, they get distracted, and old habits creep back in. The goal of this chapter is to prevent that from happening to you. We're going to turn everything we've done into an identity. So you don't just try to be wealthy, disciplined, and focused. You are wealthy, disciplined, and focused. This is the infinite game of wealth creation. Most people play a finite game with money. They set a goal like, I want $10,000 in savings. I want to hit 6 figures. I want to buy a house. Those are fine milestones, but here's the problem. Once they reach them, they stop. The motivation fades. The discipline fades. Then they backslide. The infinite game is different. It's not about a number, it's about who you become. In an infinite game, the goal is to keep playing, to keep evolving, to keep compounding. You don't stop when you hit 6 figures, you raise the bar. You don't stop when you master one skill, you learn the next. You don't stop when you make it, you build systems that create impact beyond yourself. This is how you create generational wealth, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Let's talk identity. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you say, I'm bad with money, you'll sabotage yourself. If you say, I'm a disciplined wealth builder, you'll act accordingly. Here's a powerful truth. Identity shapes habits, and habits shape destiny. When you shift your identity, you don't need as much motivation because your actions flow naturally from who you believe you are. Here's how to start. Choose your identity statement. Something simple but powerful. Examples. I am the kind of person who creates wealth every day. I am a disciplined, focused investor in my future. I am a builder of value and opportunity. 2. Stack evidence daily. Each flow session, each discipline choice, each investment, these are votes for your new identity. Write them down. Track them. Watch them pile up. 3. Upgrade your environment. Surround yourself with cues that reinforce your identity. Books, mentors, communities, workspaces that remind you who you are becoming. 4. Watch your language. Stop saying things that conflict with your new identity, even jokingly. Instead of I'm broke or I'm lazy, say I'm learning to manage my money better or I'm becoming more disciplined. Playing the infinite game means you'll face setbacks. Investments will lose value. Businesses will fail. You'll have days when focus feels impossible. Here's where most people quit, because they tie their identity to the outcome instead of the process. You must learn to see setbacks as feedback, not failure. Flow teaches you this. Discipline teaches you this. Every time you return to your system after a hard day, you strengthen your identity as someone who keeps going. Let's zoom out. You don't just want flow sessions, you want a flow life. That means designing every area of life to support your highest performance. Health, regular exercise, quality sleep, nutritious food, because flow requires energy. Environment, spaces that inspire focus, minimal clutter, intentional design. Relationships, surround yourself with people who elevate you, not drain you. Money, systems that make your finances run in the background, freeing your brain for creation. When you stack these together, you spend more time in a state of clarity and purpose, and less time fighting fires. Infinite wealth isn't just about you, it's about the people who come after you. Ask yourself, what habits, systems, and assets am I passing down? What mindset am I modeling for my children, friends, or community? Am I teaching them to chase cheap dopamine or to build something that lasts? When you think this way, you stop chasing short-term wins and start building structures that outlive you. This is where wealth creation becomes not just a personal pursuit, but a contribution to the world. Take an hour today to write down the core pillars of your new identity. 1. Identity statement. Who are you becoming? 2. Core habits. What 3 to 5 habits define this version of you? 3. Wealth engine. What primary vehicle are you using to build wealth? Business, investments, career, etc. 4. Flow ritual. When, where, and how do you consistently enter deep work mode? 5. Reward system. How do you celebrate progress to keep dopamine on your side? Post this somewhere you can see it daily. Review it every week. Adjust as you grow. Here's the big takeaway. You are your greatest wealth-building asset. Not your bank account, not your job, not your business. You. When you master your brain chemistry, your focus, and your discipline, you become someone who can create wealth in any market under any circumstance. You become recession-proof. You become opportunity-ready. You become unstoppable. From now on, wealth creation is no longer something you try. It is who you are. Flow is no longer an occasional accident. It is your default work state. Discipline is no longer a struggle. It is simply the design of your life. Dopamine is no longer a distraction. It is the fuel that powers your goals. This is the infinite game. There is no finish line, no I've made it. There is only the next level, the next asset, the next challenge, the next creation. And you'll love it because the process is now the reward. Most people will never do what you've just done. They will keep playing small, living in distraction, outsourcing their dopamine to corporations, and wondering why wealth feels so hard to reach. But you are different now. You have the tools, the mindset, the rituals, and the system. The question is no longer, will I succeed? The question is, how far will I take this? Because now wealth is not just a goal, it's your identity. And once identity shifts, the results become inevitable.